welcome to another real estate video from Yourhousekeyz.com, and that's Keyz with a Z. My name is Yourhousekeyz with WK Estates. Jay Galen with JG Homes isn't here today because he's actually at an inspection on one of our properties. But I'm here with the elite group, the home inspectors, and they're going to walk us through the concepts of what a home inspection entails.
Hi, I'm Mike Spears. I'm with the elite group. I'm a master certified home inspector.
I'm Josh Niehaus. I do business development and marketing for the company.
All right, so we're going to start just following these guys, and they're going to show us what actually a home inspection actually entails.
We're about to begin an inspection on this 1950s home. Home inspectors, we always start with this general process of looking at the outside of the house first, looking for any major defects. When we know what the defects are on the outside, it leads us to clues of what we're looking for on the inside. So here we go. We always start with a good photo of the front of the home. I think the first thing we do is we take water pressure to determine if there's a water pressure issue. All of our home inspectors are equipped with all the tools to take the pressure to investigate anything within the house. We're just going to use a standard water pressure tool, apply that to the main valve area, turn the water on, and now we can determine if we have correct pressure for the home. Everything is digitally photographed by our home inspectors, so we'll take a photograph of the water pressure. This house is at 60 psi. We're looking at a range between 50 and 80 psi as being average. So we will make notes a little bit that the hose bib handle is leaking and that the main valve handle is actually missing on this. So if I wanted to turn the water off to this home, that valve is missing. So that's a defect that we'll report to the potential buyer. Water pressure can fluctuate from city to city, but that's why we use an average between 55 and 80. So that's what we're looking for, an average. If it's too high, it can affect the fixtures within the house, and if it's too low, you'll have low pressure coming in. It might be a problem. Usually low pressure has to do with the city or the type of piping that's supplying the house. One of the other things we'll always check, even though it's not part of our process, is we'll take a look at the main curb vault that's associated with the city. In this particular vault, when I pulled up to the house, I already noticed an issue, and that's what home inspectors are trained to notice. These certain little clues will tell us if there's a problem. When I first pulled up, I noticed that the sprinklers hadn't been on in a while, but there's definitely evidence of moisture around the main city vault. And like I said, because it has nothing to do with our home inspection, it's part of the city, even though your home inspector should generally take a look at it to give you an idea if there's any problems. So we're quickly going to pull this open, and I can already see it inside, and I'll pull this open for us so we can see the whole thing. There's an obvious leak here. The city needs to get involved. There's moisture filled up inside this main valve area. So this is a problem, not necessarily for the buyer at this time, but it's a problem that the city needs to deal with. So if this house is occupied, I might even notify the seller of this issue so they can get it taken care of before the close of escrow. While those sprinklers are not mostly tested during the home inspection process, usually you can pay additional fee and your home inspector will test them. I do take just a general look at the timer and at the valves. If I notice anything wrong, I still will report it because I want the buyer to know there might be a potential problem, even though I don't test the actual functioning system. So this particular system looks okay. I don't see any signs of leakage or anything. There's really nothing to report this time. It seems to have a timer. The timer seems to operate properly when I had it open. So at this point in time, there's nothing to test because, again, that's not part of a general scope of a home inspection, but at least I looked at the cursory items and have nothing to report to them. Again, when walking around the house, we want to take a look at the stucco system. We want to take a look at, we're looking at multiple things at the same time. Planters, are the plants touching the structure? That can lead to an infestation of pests to the house or moisture intrusion to the house. We're looking at the windows to make sure that we don't have any obvious major defects. These windows, you can tell, have some paint defects, some minor defects, just home maintenance type of defects, but there's no major defects, no broken glass, no internal condensation or anything that we're looking for in there. So as we continue around the house, we'll continue looking at everything. Sometimes we do have to get a little dirty in our jobs. There's an outlet over there. I'm going to use a standard outlet tester, which is going to tell me the polarity of the outlet, if it's wired correctly. And if it's a GFI, I have an option to test the GFI to see if it's operating properly. So we'll get down in here, take a look. The polarity looks good. It is a GFI, so I'm going to test it. I hit the test button, but I noticed that it did not pop in this area. So this GFI might be associated with another GFI in the house. Again, another reason why we work on the outside first, and then we go to the inside after that. So when I get to the inside, I heard it pop inside here, so it's probably inside of a bathroom. We'll take care of that before we leave and make sure it's back to normal. A couple things we'll do again on the outside is we're looking at the windows, we're looking at the doors. When I start the inspection, I always turn on the exterior lights. I can tell I have one light operating here, and the light not operating here, and the light not operating here. It looks like these two have sensors on them, which is normal. This one will probably pop on when it gets darker at times, but we'll make a note in the report that the light bulb is probably out, or they can have an electrician look at the light to further evaluate it. Even though it's something small, we always test the doorbell. That's working good. Again, usually I'll photograph it with a thumbs up. Doorbell's working good. We're looking at the hardscapes. We're looking for any signs of movement. Average, normal, small cracks such as these. They're just going to be reported as something that's normal for the age of the house, typical for the age of something of the structure. What we are looking for is things like displacement. That's telling us that the structure or the hardscape has moved, offering trip hazards or possible safety issues for the potential buyer. I don't see any of those here. Just normal, typical cracks that we would see every day. Okay, so we're inside the home now. This is an occupied home. It's got plenty of personal belongings around. It's going to limit our inspection, but again, that's why you hire a home inspector, because again, we're not looking at anybody's personal belongings. We're looking for clues to potential issues for you. The first thing we do when we come in is turn on all the lights. We're not going to perform a stress test on the electrical system, but having all the lights on like someone would normally live here is going to help us see if we have any problems. We always come into the kitchen first. Our computerized program is completed on the job inside the house. So we usually set up in the kitchen, set our computer up so that we can come back to it and type up our progress throughout the inspection report. Every inspector is different. You may inspect the kitchen first or the interior of the house first. You can pick your own order when you're inside here. Again, as long as we start on the outside first, it'll tell us what's going on, and we'll come to the inside and start looking around. So for instance, we'll start with the dining room. It's our nearest room. We'll take the features of the dining room. Again, we try to photograph every room, we'll take a picture, and then we're going to look at the various features of the room. What conditions are on the wall? What conditions are on the ceiling? Do the light fixtures work? Does the fan work? How does the floor look? What condition is that in? Any available outlets, again, we're going to test with our outlet tester to make sure that they work properly. And then we will try to determine if all the switching is operating properly. If there are older homes that have multiple switches that may operate an outlet, we'll try to help you determine that information as well. Testing an outlet, make sure it looks good. Again, we'll look at the windows. In this case, we'll open the window. In this case, it might be a problem. This homeowner doesn't have the appropriate crank handles here to open up the windows. So we might make a note of that in the report to tell them that the handles are missing. We could not appropriately test the windows. Okay, we're still inspecting the inside of the house. And again, one of the jobs of the home inspector is to make sure that the buyer is safe and sound. And so we're always looking at smoke detectors and carbon monoxides to make sure that they're installed within the parameters that we want them in. So in this particular house, they have a smoke detector way up high that I probably can't reach without my ladder, but they also have a combination smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector right here. It's specifically located in the hallway outside the bedrooms. That way, anybody sleeping in the bedrooms will be alerted of a problem before it gets to the bedroom. We still have the backups that we look out for in the bedrooms. We look for additional smoke detectors in the bedroom as well. Simple test. All of these are 10-year battery life. Simply push the button. And we're going to report that this one's not working properly.
How many smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors are you supposed to have in the house?
That's a great question, and it's a great debate among the industry, but this is what home inspectors look for. If you have a single-story house, you want a smoke detector and a carbon monoxide detector in the hallway outside of any bedrooms. If you have a long hallway or bedrooms separate on each end, you're going to want to put smoke detectors and carbon monoxides on each end of the hallway close to those bedrooms. If you have multiple level dwellings, so two-story, three-story, four-story building, you're going to want to put a smoke detector and carbon monoxide at every level, even if there's no sleeping areas in a particular level. So if you walk into a house and it's just an entry with a stairway, we're still going to want you to put a smoke detector and carbon monoxide at every level of that house. Part of the home inspection, we do need to test your heating and air conditioning system. We're just going to operate it using the normal operating controls. This is a standard thermostat. We've got it set to cool. We've turned the temperature down just a tad to keep the air conditioning system on for a little bit. We are going to take some temperature measurements, and this is how we tell if the system is operating properly. Right here is where we have the filter area. So we're going to check to make sure the filter looks clean. In this case, it does. This is where the fresh air returns to the HVAC system. we're going to take a temperature here to understand what the basic temperature inside the house is. This is a vital temperature for us. This is 72 degrees right now, and that's going to be our baseline temperature. So when we run the air conditioning, we're looking for a 20-degree difference. So in this particular case, it was 72. I'm looking for 52 coming out of the registers. And when I run the heater, I'm going to be looking for at a minimum 92 to make sure that this heat temperature difference is correct. So we'll find the nearest register, and we'll go inside here and take a quick temperature to see if the air conditioner is working. So here's the kitchen register. We're going to take a quick temperature of it. It's just above 52. So it's to the point where I would probably recommend having a standard service done. It's getting cold. I can feel the cold air. I've got temperatures to show that it's almost to that 20-degree differential. I might give this a little bit longer to run, get to that point, make sure that it's okay. I'll test a handful of other registers to make sure that they're blowing the same temperature, and that way we can tell you if it's working correctly or not. Let's go outside and check out the AC system. Okay, part of the outside of the inspection, we've walked around the entire part of the house, checking everything that we needed to check. We're now on the utility side of the house where we're going to check the utilities. The first thing we're going to come across here is the air conditioning compressor. I'm going to take my general photo for my report. This does look like an older unit. You can tell it's been worn and weathered. We'll be running it inside today to make sure that it's operating properly, but a couple things we're going to do real quick is we're going to check on the inside, look for any debris or damage. We do that while the unit's off to make sure nobody gets hurt. Okay, there's some debris inside. I'm going to take a look at the outside and make sure that the unit is on a base above ground. We don't want this to get wet or hit by irrigation because that rust will ultimately damage the unit. This does look okay. Every unit's required to have some sort of shut-off within line of sight of the unit, so we'll make sure that looks okay. There's no damage. None of the conduit is removed. And last but not least, we're going to look at the refrigerant lines. That's the part that carries the cold fluid into the system. Make sure that it's properly insulated and that you're not losing any efficiency out here. We're also looking for any signs of leakage or any other issues. This one looks okay. So outside of reporting it's a worn and weathered unit, as long as it's operating properly, that's what we're going to put in our report. Okay, we're here to do the electrical panel inspection on the outside of this home, on the utility side of the home. So I've opened the electrical panel. I'm looking for any obvious defects that we can see inside here. Again, your home inspector is trained to look for specific defects. I'm going to note all the breakers, any breakers that are off. I'm going to note the size of the main breaker so I know what's going on, and I want to make sure it has the presence of what we call a dead front cover. Once I remove that cover, I can inspect the wiring and everything else inside the panel. Again, I'm looking for things like melted wires, what we call double tap wires. That's a very common thing that we see. Homeowners don't have enough room inside their panel. They add an additional wire to a breaker to draw power, and they run that somewhere else, and that's not the way it's supposed to happen. That can overload that breaker and cause an electrical problem for you. So we are going to look for that, any signs of melting or overheating. Take a quick look. There are no double taps. There's some loose wires that haven't been installed. And I always like to use my infrared gun to look at any thermal imaging problems. I'll turn that on, and if I have any high heat temperature, anything over 120 degrees, I would report that as possibly an overloaded breaker or something that's getting too hot. In this particular panel, it looks okay, so we're going to give it a thumbs up. Again, now we're checking the exterior utilities on the house. We're on the utility side of the house. Here's a water heater closet. We're going to check it out. First thing we're going to look for very quickly is to make sure water heaters require combustion air. We're going to make sure we have an upper and a lower combustion air vent, and this looks like the overflow for the water heater overflow line, which looks great so far. We'll make any notations possibly about this door being a little weathered. You might want to have the homeowner change it at some point in time. Overall, we're going to look at the condition of the water heater. We want to make sure primarily that it's operational at the time of the home inspection, so we're going to investigate the gas valve, make sure the gas valve's here, nothing's incorrect with the gas valve. Older water heaters, you can tell signs of wear when you start to begin to see what we call soot marks or black marks above the combustion, the pilot door chamber. We're going to make sure that the straps are present, they're properly bolted in, they're in the top third and the bottom third of the tank. That's a seismic safety requirement. We're going to double check again to make sure that our overflow line is correct, that the water heater is equipped with what's called a temperature pressure relief safety valve. That's in there. We're going to investigate the venting to make sure that it's connected correctly and there's no exhaust leaks whatsoever. We're also going to take a look at all the plumbing to make sure there's no over corrosion, dry corrosion, or any visible leaks at the time of the home inspection. So we're going to take a look at all those things, and then we're going to report on the interior enclosure. In this particular case, although I'm not the termite inspector, because I'm a home inspector and I'm trained to notice what we call wood destroying organisms, I can see evidence of possible termites in this enclosure. So I'm going to recommend that they have a termite inspection as well. As we walk around the house, we're always looking at the stucco, we're looking at the windows, looking at anything attached to the house. We're looking for any major defects. This house looks in pretty good condition. I don't see any signs of major cracking. I don't see any signs of even small cracking in some of these areas, so it's in good condition. This is called the utility side of the house because we have all the utilities. We've got the electrical panel, we've got the air conditioning, the water heater, the access to the foundation. We've got the main gas meter, and we've got the dryer vent on this side of the house. So that's the utility side of the house. This is an important side to check out. When looking at the gas meter, we're just making sure that the valve is turned on. There's no evident signs of rust all throughout the piping. The valve is accessible. We always recommend that the homeowners include a safety wrench near their valve in case they have to turn the valve off in an earthquake situation or anything like that. Some cities require that you have a seismic valve, although your home inspector may not know the actual cities that require that, because we could be all over Southern California. We do recommend, we'll let you know if there is a seismic valve, and we'll make a recommendation to install one if needed.
You guys crawl in there and check the bottom of the house?
Favorite part of the home inspector's job, and to be honest with you, it's not a bad part of the job. Everybody always wonders about it. As long as you're not afraid of spiders, we're going to go underneath your house. We're going to check this out. And all of our home inspectors are trained to crawl throughout the entire foundation. We're going to look at all the foundation walls. There's about 15 different items under there that we're looking at. The foundation walls, the plumbing, the electrical, what we call the sill plate, which is a construction term for how it's attached to the foundation. We're looking to make sure the house is anchor bolted. And we're looking at what's called the subfloor. So especially under bathrooms and kitchen and plumbing areas, the subfloor may tell us if there's leaks that we couldn't see when we were inside the bathroom. We're going to see those for underneath. So again, building science is what we're all about. The home inspectors are about building science. If we can't see it from the outside, we're going to find a place underneath where we're going to see it, and that's going to tell you if you have a potential problem.
We're still here walking around the property and looking. Right now we're going to be working in the back of the yard, what they actually look for in the yard.
The home inspector's in the backyard. We're going to walk around the property. Again, our focus is the main structure and the garage, but we do look at the yard areas. We're looking for any signs of problems. So in this particular instance, again, we don't check the sprinklers, but I may make a note that there's a lot of dead vegetation on this lawn, so maybe that sprinkler system is not operating properly. So we'll still make a note in that your report so you can see that. One of the other primary goals is for us to look at the exterior perimeter fencing, and we're looking for any major defects. Block walls, wood fencing, they all have their own particular defects that we're looking for. Metal fencing can get rusted if it gets wet and can begin to corrode. In this particular case, this block wall looks good. However, we did notice a defect over here where the block wall has what we call step line cracking. So this block wall has moved and it's got a step down, so step line cracking. That's an easy thing for a home inspector to see, and that is a structural defect. That means that the wall structurally has started to move slightly. Obviously, it could be due to this large oak tree or this large avocado tree. We're going to make a report to it. It does not have any what we call deflection, so it hasn't moved north or south. It hasn't moved away from each other. It's not actually in risk of falling down, but it's the beginning signs of a problem. So we will tell you about it, and you can have a masonry contractor come out and give you some ideas on how to fix it. Everything is fixable. That's what I always tell everybody. Okay, a part of the outside of the house is to look at the exterior doors as well. And while the common doors, like a front and back door, are normal, this is a side garage door, and I can see very quickly that this garage door has been sustaining a lot of moisture damage. The sprinklers are right here. It's likely coming up and spraying the structure. This door's got significant moisture damage. Again, evidence of termites at the door frame. So we're going to recommend have a termite guy take a look at this further and probably look inside the garage for termite damage. So a common thing, again, home inspectors are trained to look for is the use of extension cords. When somebody lives in a house and they need power, first thing they do is grab an extension cord. And while that may be sufficient at the time, we want to make sure that we always try to look for safety issues. I can tell right here there's an extension cord running to some exterior lights. That's no problem. Those will probably come down. But I do see an extension cord here, and if I follow this, I can see this extension cord has been buried under the ground, and it seems like it runs to the garage. So again, home inspector's looking for clues to problems, that's going to be my clue that there might be an electrical problem in the garage. So let's go in the garage and take a look. Okay, we're in the garage, and as we know, it's an occupied home, so there's lots of items in here that we may not be able to see behind. But again, we look for clues to a problem. We saw that extension cord earlier that was leading towards the garage. We followed it in behind this cabinetry, and we can tell that this garage has had some sort of power issue. The homeowner has run the extension cord in here to a box on the wall. There's been a lot of little homeowner electrical work done here at this house. So we're going to report that as defects, and that we recommend having a licensed electrician come in and do a further evaluation above and beyond what I did as a home inspector, just because I noticed these problems, and they're probably going to need to do some different power things here in the garage to bring this up to standards, building standards. As we look in the garage, again, part of the garage is a workspace. We're looking for all kinds of things. One thing I do look for up on the garage is going to be on the ceiling. Any signs of stains or signs of defects. I do see some old staining here. There is an attic space that we're going to crawl into the garage, look for any signs of roof stains. So we'll be going up in that area soon and taking a look for any roof stains or any signs of leakage from the roof. But we already know, because we start, again, building science, we already started the outside of the house and we've climbed on the roof. We already know the roof is relatively new. And so if there are some stains, they're likely going to be older stains. There's no signs or evidence of leaking of the roof from the top side.
What type of inspection do you do on the roof? Just a overall visual inspection?
Everything we do is visual. We can't do any destructive testing whatsoever. We don't own the property, so I can't go up there and run a hose up on the roof to see if it leaks during a rain. But again, your home inspectors are trained and certified to inspect roofs. So we're going to go up there and look for any defects that would be obvious to us if there's a problem on the roof. And then again, we're going to do the second part of the inspection, which is look on the underside of the roof at the rafter system and the sheeting system for any signs of defects. So we're doing a double look for you, visible look only, to make sure there's no signs of any problem. Part of the home inspector's job is to get up on the roof, take a quick look, make sure there's no defects. That's what we're going to do right now. Appropriate flashing on the base. There's no significant rust or rust damage at the top part of the cap. There's no significant cracking in this type of chimney. So this chimney's looking really good. I always check all the sides. We will note some of the flashing is lifting, some of the nails need to be reset. We're also going to look at the skylights, make sure there's no significant cracking or any need for additional mastic maintenance around them. There's no significant cracking. The flashing seems to be installed properly. There's no evidence of leakage at these. They're dirty, which is expected for being outside. We're going to look at the vent caps as well. Make sure that they're secured properly. There's no need for additional mastic where they come out, and there's no problems with them. We always got to make sure that they rise above the roof line to make sure that that's exhausted with the natural wind. This is attic ventilation, just making sure no rust, no damage. Flashing looks good. Here's another exhaust fan. Unlike the other one, this one's got some good rust around it and needs some mastic around it in order to seal it properly from rain coming in. This is our electrical power coming in from the telephone pole. There's no significant defects. We're looking for any wire deterioration or exposed wires. The height above the roof to make sure it's not touching the roof of the structure. This one looks good. Okay, we're on the exterior part of the house. We're inspecting, obviously we got a stair system here. We're making sure the stairs are intact. The railing system's okay. We might make a recommendation here just for safety to have vertical safety rungs. This is an old school design that has horizontal rungs and allows for children to climb. So we are going to recommend have some verticals here, preventing any safety issues. We'll check the windows, the doors. This doorbell, we checked it earlier. This one's not working, so we're going to give it a thumbs down, let the client know. Check the base part of the chimney. Again, looking for any significant signs of defects or cracks. And the foundation perimeter, we're taking a look down there. This house looks like in really good condition. Once we go into the house, we'll be able to tell you more about the foundation. An interesting defect that we found on this particular home is that we see what's called a condensation line drain coming from the AC system. We can tell that it's been modified. We can tell that the homeowner ran it along the eaves over here, tied up with wire tie, and now it's just dripping down here on the side of the house. This is a problem with the AC system that needs to be addressed by an HVAC contractor. This should not be dripping any water. So what this is telling me is that this is a secondary drain line that's dripping water, it's telling me there's a problem with the condensation drain or the coil box in the attic. So when we get to the attic, we're going to be able to look at that and see if we see any problem. On the inside of the home, we're going to check out the kitchen today. Kitchen, much like bathrooms, have a lot of moving parts, a lot of functionality we need to check. We're going to start with the sink. We're going to check the faucet, the sprays, make sure that the garbage disposal is operating properly. We've got hot and cold temperatures, that both sides of the drain are working properly. We're going to investigate inside the cabinetry. And again, personal items are going to be present in an occupied home. We're going to use our flashlight. We're going to investigate looking for any signs of leakage or damage or any signs of rust or corrosion. We're going to report that on there. Dishwashers are not very complicated machines, but we are going to make sure the outside looks in decent condition. The inside, the door opens, there's no seal damage. The drawers work. There's no damage back inside the moving parts. We're going to make sure it's strapped in so it doesn't fall over when you try and open it. We find that a lot. And all of our home inspectors take photographs of all the model numbers, and we enter you in what's called recall check. It's a free service we give all of our clients, and we include a photograph of the model number and everything inside of our report. We'll run this dishwasher for a cycle and let it drain while we're continuing the rest of the inspection. Range oven, we're going to just do a brief inspection, make sure all of the burners are lighting properly. This one's having an issue, but it's getting started. Picture will prove that's operating properly. We're going to turn the oven on, the oven light, make sure that the oven lights up, is turning on properly, and again take the model number off of that. Same thing with the vent system, turn it on, make sure that it's operating, make sure that the vent is connected inside the cabinetry as we would expect. Any attached appliances we're going to check, including this microwave. We're going to check the outside, the inside, the model number, and some guys will use a microwave tester. I just use a wet sponge. Put it inside, run it for 10 seconds, and we'll take a temperature of that reading. It should get hot to 120, 140 degrees. Don't have manufacturer specs on all the minimum requirements, but we will report if we see something that's irregularly spaced. So in this particular area, it looks like you have a decent amount of space. If there was a microwave here, I would likely pull out my tape measure and measure the space. You want to, at minimum, make sure you have 18 inches of space between the burners and whatever exhaust system that you're using. Anything less than that is a defect and probably will void the warranty of that appliance. So we usually report that for you. Refrigerators are generally not part of the home inspection because they're not part of the sale. But our inspectors will generally, if there's a seller home, will ask the seller or the realtor if it's going to be included. And we won't test it for functionality, but we'll make sure that it's operating. And we'll take a model number for you and allow you to use that for your recall check. We're going to go up in the attic. Just like the foundation of the structure, we're looking at the structure, the insulation, the roof sheeting, any electrical or plumbing problems. And oftentimes we're going to find some appliance in the attic, something like a heater. We've even seen water heaters in the attic. So again, the attic is sort of a utility area. We're going to look for any problems. The most common problems we find in attics is that an electrician put some wiring together and didn't put a proper cover plate on the junction box, or there's some exposed wiring. That's the most common thing we see in attics. Other common things we see on older homes are going to be stains at the roof framing. And again, like the garage we talked about earlier, we're going to report any stains, and then we'll report on the condition of the roof as well. So we'll try to give you our best opinion on whether we think that's an old stain or something that needs further evaluation by us. In order to get the best for your dollar amount is to make sure all of the utilities are on, that they're all functioning, and vacant home inspections. Everything's the same as a regular occupied home inspection, but we know nobody's lived there for a while. So the only thing that's really different is we'll usually run the water for a lot longer period of time to try and run as many gallons of water through the drainage system to see if there's any significant problems. Okay, we're wrapping up our home inspection, and as I mentioned before, all of our home inspectors do a computerized inspection at the home. They're equipped with printers that they usually bring into the home or have in their car, and they're going to print you out a report. An average home inspection takes anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours. Depending on the size of the property, it may take longer or shorter if you have like a small condo that's vacant or doesn't have a lot of items to check. We are going to print you off a report and present that to your clients. This report's going to include everything that we found with the house. It's going to be a summarized version of it. We're going to email you a copy of the full report. We're going to include a guide for you about operating your home and general maintenance tips. We're going to include a copy of all the warranties that we offer you.
Hey there, I'm Jay Galen from JG Homes and WK Estates, here on Your House Keys, that's Keys with a Z. Thanks for watching Your House Keys here on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date on the videos we're putting on, you can click subscribe just below me, or if you want to see other great real estate related videos, click on this list.